Understanding the power of 3D referencing. One of the most powerful capabilities in Excel is something called 3D referencing or dimensional referencing. Essentially, a 3D reference allows you to target the exact same cell or a specific range of cells across multiple worksheets simultaneously. It is an incredibly fast and convenient way to aggregate data from several different sheets, but there is one golden rule you have to follow. The sheets must have an identical structure. That structure part is the real key here. If your data isn't laid out in the exact same way on every single page, this technique won't work properly. Setting up the scenario. Let's look at a practical example to make this clear. In this workbook, I have a series of tabs, and each one represents a different product category. We have the devices, fashion, appliances, and household. On each of these sheets, you'll see sales figures listed from January down to December, with a total calculation at the very bottom. Notice how the layout is perfectly consistent. On every single category tab, the months are in the same column, and the sales figures are in the same cells. This consistency makes it the perfect candidate for 3D referencing. Finally, I have a total report worksheet at the end that is currently empty, performing a sum across multiple sheets. Our goal is to populate this total report worksheet. Specifically, I want to calculate the total sales for January by adding up the January figures from the devices, fashion, appliances, and household. I need Excel to drill down through the workbook, look at cell B4 on the devices sheet, add it to B4 on the fashion sheet, and so on for appliances and household. Let's start by clicking into cell C4 on the total report sheet. Since we are adding these values, we need a standard sum function. Type an equal sign, followed by the word sum, and then hit your tab key to open the function. Now, we need to tell Excel which values to add. I'll start by clicking on the first worksheet in my range, which is the Devices tab. If you glance up at the formula bar, you'll see it has registered the Devices worksheet. Next, I'll click on the January sales figure, which is cell B4. At this point, you could technically do this the hard way by manually clicking the next sheet, selecting the cell, clicking the next sheet, and selecting the cell again. But honestly, that's tedious. There is a much faster method. Since we want to include every sheet from the first to the last, just hold down your Shift key. With the Shift key held down, click on the tab for Household, which is the last one in our sequence. By doing this, you have effectively selected every worksheet tab sandwiched between the devices and household. Take a look at the formula bar now. It should read something like devices to household, exclamation point, B4. This tells us it is summing cell B4 on every single worksheet in that range. When you hit enter, you get your total calculation immediately. It's that easy. Using autofill and handling formatting. Let's try that one more time just to lock it in. I'll go to the cell for February, type equals sum, and hit tab. I'll click the devices worksheet and select the February sales figure. Then, holding down the Shift key, I'll click the Household tab to grab that entire range of sheets. Hit enter, and the result appears. Because we are just moving down a vertical range of cells, I don't need to keep typing this manually. I can use the autofill handle to drag this formula down for the rest of the months. I can even drag it down one extra slot to generate the ground total. You might notice that when you drag the formula down, it messes up your formatting slightly, specifically the borders. Don't stress about that right now. We can tidy it up in a moment. Applying different formulas with 3D references. The beauty of this method is that it works with other functions, not just sums. Let's say I want to find the average sales instead. The process is exactly the same, just with a different formula. Type equals average and select the function. Jump over to the devices worksheet and click the January cell. Hold down Shift, click the last worksheet in the group, and hit enter. Now you have the average across all those categories. Just like before, you can copy this down to the bottom. Fixing borders and formatting. To finish this off, let's clean up the visual presentation. I'm going to change the number formatting. I also need to fix those borders that got disrupted by the autofill. That is really all there is to 3D referencing. Just remember that the most critical factor is ensuring your data structure is identical across every single worksheet.